Thanks for joining me. We're on the third largest island in the world, the island of Borneo, in the tropical rainforests of the northeastern coast. And we're looking for one of my favorite groups of plants, the Nepenthes pitcher plants. They're a type of carnivorous plant, and they grow here in the palm and mangrove swamps here near the coast. Let's go look for them now. We found some specimens of wild Nepenthes, or pitcher plants, in some low-lying peat bogs that are overshadowed by palm trees and mangroves. And we found a wild Nepenthes. Borneo has about 40 species of Nepenthes, or carnivorous pitcher plants. And there are only about 80 in the world, all of them here in Southeast Asia, and most of them in Borneo and the island of Sumatra. And there are many species that grow here in the lowland rainforests, and an additional group of species that only live in the high elevation cloud forests. These peat bogs are quite acidic, and it's difficult for other plants to live here. And so the carnivorous Nepenthes pitcher plants have an advantage over other plants in that they can supplement their food with insects. Now they make these pitchers that I've shown you that are really metabolically very expensive to make. So they're very slow growing perennial plant. But where the nutrients are very low, such as in these acidic peat bogs in the coastal ranges, they can have a competitive advantage. And they are living all throughout this forest, and they're very well camouflaged, especially since they are vines that crawl up the trees. In the background, we're hearing long-tailed parakeets, and there are a flock of them above us feeding on the ripe native fig trees. We found some specimens of wild Nepenthes, or pitcher plants. They grow as a vine, and each pitcher, or insect trapping mechanism, is at the end of a long stem. Here's the petiole, and here is the actual pitcher. And all of the Nepenthes pitcher plants have a lid and then a pitcher named after a milk pitcher. And this is where the insects are trapped. Now, it's a myth that they can trap large animals like bats and rats and monkeys. That was a myth perpetuated by early explorers in the 15, 16, 1700s. They normally only are trying to catch insects. And so they lure the insect with a combination of scent and a nectar reward. And that nectar reward is given right at the edge of this mouth or peristome. And if the insect takes the reward and maybe gets a little too greedy, he will continue to go inside of the pitcher where the nectar is the sweetest and the densest, and there it risks falling inside. And once it does that, the walls of the pitcher are very slippery. They're covered with a waxy-like substance. And they slip and fall and tire themselves out until they land in the bottom of the pitcher that is filled with an acidic water that the plant exudes from the walls of the pitcher. And there it is that they drowned. The insects are then digested by a combination of bacteria and larvae that actually are aquatic, that live inside the pitcher. They're what we call commensal, where you have both partners benefiting. So there are larval insects that live inside these pitchers, and they will help to break down the prey and open up the exoskeleton of the prey, which are primarily insects. And once the exoskeleton has been penetrated by the larvae, then the digestive enzymes of the Nepenthes pitcher can get in there and digest the prey. This is a lovely specimen, long vine with many of the pitchers, and you can see they have this tendril that spires, and it wraps around. It helps it to wrap around other organisms, that is, other plants. Here's a good example here. Down here, well, you probably can't see it, but this is a dead pitcher. It's done its job, and it's going to decompose now. And here are some younger pitchers. And up here are some leaves that haven't grown their pitcher yet. Well, this is just a fascinating find here in the tropical lowland rainforests of Borneo, where we're so lucky to see several species of Nepenthes. Now let's see if we can find any more. In this species of Nepenthes, it's very easy to see the parts. This species has a very tiny lid, which in most species of Nepenthes actually covers the opening of the pitcher and prevents rain from getting in. This is filled with a lot of liquid, probably a combination of rain and the liquid that the plant makes to help drown its insect prey. Around the mouth here, this is called a peristome, and this is the area that creates the nectar that attracts the insects in the first place. And on the back here, we have some spiny wings whose function isn't known, but often these pitcher plants will be sort of spiny and red speckled, and they will almost look as if they're rotting flesh. And the combination of the look and sometimes the smell, which replicates decaying flesh, will attract the insects to the pitcher. Here you can very easily see that the pitcher is a combination, or the extension, that is, of the leaf. This is like a normal leaf that has evolved into having the very end part be this carnivorous pitcher. These Nepenthes have a leaf that is modified into a pitcher at the end, which is the part that actually captures the insect prey. And they have many modifications of this leaf to be carnivorous. In order for a plant to evolve carnivory, it has to evolve the ability to attract an insect, like with its nectar, and then trap the insect, as in being inside of this pitcher, and then digesting the insect for nutrients. And it digests the insect in several ways. Some species make actually digestive enzymes that they exude into the water of the trap. Digestive enzymes very similar to those found in human stomachs. But they also use symbiotic species that are aquatic, that live inside of this pitcher in the water. Various larvae of different predatory insects that will partially eat the insects that drowned in the liquid. And once they eat through that tough exoskeleton, then the plant is more able to get the digestive juices inside and trap it and eat it and digest it. Let's see if this Nepenthes pitcher plant has been eating anything lately. I'm going to pour out the liquid. It's very difficult to get out. And that's part of the trick, is that around the mouth of this pitcher, there's a ledge inside. And it prevents any of the insects from crawling up the inside wall of the pitcher, because there is a ledge. If you imagine the pitcher inside edge to be like this, there is a ledge like this that is preventing them from getting up and out. I see a very large cricket in here. And there are also some mosquito larvae. But it's very fascinating that I can't get the cricket out because of that ledge. Fascinating evolution of plants here in the Bornean rainforests. Now, there are a few myths about these Nepenthes pitcher plants that I need to dispel for you right now. One of them is that they eat big mammals like bats and rats and monkeys. And that's just not true. That was a myth perpetrated by the early 17th and 18th century explorers. Although a few times people have found things like rats in the bigger species of Nepenthes, like Nepenthes raja, which is the largest Nepenthes in the world. It's so large that its pitcher can hold 2 liters of water. But they primarily feed on small insects, mainly the ants that are just teeming all over everything here in the rainforests. Another myth is that they move, and that's how they trap things. And while some species of carnivorous plants, like the Venus flytrap, capture their insects by moving, these are simply a passive trap in which the insect is lured into this pitcher with the nectar that is exuded around the rim of the pitcher. It is also thought that the pitchers are flowers, and that's not true. The pitcher is actually the end of this very long modified leaf. So the plant is a climbing type of plant that climbs up tree trunks and lianas in the rainforest. And each leaf at the very end of its petiole will make this spiral tendril, and then this modified leaf, which is the pitcher at the very end. So this is the leaf, not the flower. The flower is a separate structure that is made at the top. And that, of course, is where the insect pollinator effects pollination and where the seeds are created. So those are some myths about carnivorous plants, especially these Nepenthes pitcher plants, that I've dispelled for you today.